Let's take a look at some charts on Tezos for this week's article on Brave New Coin. So in general, Tezos is doing quite well from the market cap perspective. It's certainly leading the proof of stake coins. Should you want to include these as proof of stake or not? They are all very different in a few regards, very similar in some, but none of them are exactly carbon copies of each other. Now you can see Tron is leading in transactions per day and daily active addresses, and what I should really do is just take Tron off this list because they very clearly, these transactions can't be real. They just can't be. Similar to EOS, I don't have EOS on here either because most of those transactions were just garbage nonsense a few months ago. All in all though, Tezos is second in daily transaction volume. I think this is largely due to staking. 80% of the network is staking, so it's not really doing anything else. It can't be involved in commerce or peer-to-peer transactions. It's just churning interest, basically. Daily fees are quite high as well. I think this is, again, because of the staking aspects. And in general, it's modestly doing okay. It's pretty high, actually, in transactions. You can't see it because of Tron spiking here. And it's fairly active on GitLab as opposed to GitHub. One issue I will continually have with any staking coin, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So you go to proof of stake because you don't want ASICs on a chain, you want complete decentralization, fine. In the case of many staking coins, exchanges are starting to offer this service, which is great. But again, not your keys, not your coins. So at the end of the day, if the exchange wants to vote for something that is in the interest of the exchange, they will do so. This doesn't mean you cannot move your coins off immediately. You can, but this happened with Steemit and Tron. I'm not going to go into that story, but basically the Steemit on Binance was used against the Steemit community and they ended up forking. So as we sit right now, 20% of the Tezos circulating supply is sitting on exchanges. Most of that is on Coinbase and Kraken. I expect Binance's share to increase quite substantially now that staking is available on Binance US. They can take business from Coinbase and Kraken now in that regard. And I don't really expect anyone else to really shoot up in a major way. I mean, Binance, Coinbase, Kraken are really the top three from an American trader's perspective and just from an industry perspective in general. Gemini doesn't have staking as far as I'm aware of. And even if they did, I don't think that would bring anyone onto the platform. Now, if I'm an exchange, one problem you're going to see is if I list the coin and I don't have staking, I'm not going to see a robust market, most likely. Poloniex is in this boat where they don't have staking, I don't think, just like Gemini, but they have Tezos listed on Polo. So my guess is they aren't going to see a vibrant trading community there because they don't have staking. You can trade it on Kraken, you can stake it on Kraken. Why wouldn't you just leave your coins on places where you can have that utility? If we look at transactions per day and average transaction values, pretty much have mirrored price, especially at the highs and the lows. In general, though, transactions per day continues to creep up, which is good. Something you want to see with any chain. Average transaction values spiked pretty large on that all-time high, and they continue to creep up just a little bit. It's actually fees, not average transaction values, sorry. So fees spiked quite a bit on that rise up. They're spiking quite a bit again. I mentioned in the article that if I see this in general with any chain, it typically means there's scaling issues. There's some underlying cause for this. To see a relatively small spike in transactions per day and a big spike in fees is something that will need to be dealt with eventually, if not sooner rather than later, because you're just going to continue to see these spikes in fees. This is NVT and monthly active addresses. Very bullish picture. Active addresses at an all-time high post-ICO distribution, and they remain there, which is good, which is what you want to see. You want to see more and more on-chain activity, more and more people getting into the coin. NVT is at or near all-time lows, which is very bullish. Again, I don't know how much of this is related to staking. Most of this daily active addresses are probably staking or speculation. It really can't be anything else because there's nothing else to do with Tezos at the moment. If we look at Google Trends, you can see there was a big spike pretty much to all-time high levels, mid-2017 ICO levels, which is what you want to see if you're bullish. It came way down, but it's back up again. So any interest from any regard is bullish. On-chain, searches, what is Tezos, how do you stake Tezos, where do I buy Tezos? Any of that stuff is all bullish. Any interest in the coin or any coin is bullish in a vacuum. Looking at technicals, open interest for Bitfinex, VPVR, volume, RSI, 15 to 200. One of the more interesting things here that I noticed was that the 15 to 200 didn't actually cross bearish on this drop on the 12th, which is pretty incredible. So it pulled up quicker than the EMAs could even cross bearish. And it's back above the 50, back above the 200 again. It's even back above this yearly pivot. It's out of all of this volume congestion. It's out of the previous all-time high zone. So to see it recover that quickly, there was a nice Adam and Eve here at the 200. Always good to see that confluence when you see a pattern breaking above a key EMA. So all this is extremely bullish. I expect this to retest 3+ easily within the next few weeks. It might turn down a little bit towards the 200. It might wait for the 200 to catch up. You could argue there's some sort of rising wedge here, but in general, to see the resilience here, to see it bounce back this quickly, you can't not ignore that. You can't say this is bearish, this is going to retest lows, none of that. I mean, it's above all the congestion that would be resistance. Long shorts are pretty unchanged overall. They're net long, but not by much, like 61%. And there's no div here even on this high. So maybe if there were bear divs on these highs, then you could say, well, okay, it's going to chill out a little bit. But there was a higher high in price and a higher high in RSI, so momentum has not decreased. Looking at the cloud, there's a giant magnet at the 50% here, which is where it was quickly headed. And very similar to BTC, if this gets above 250 at this flat Kumo here, I expect it to go much higher. Again, this all makes sense. Got below the cloud. Now it's getting above all the previous resistance, above previous all-time highs. And it's good for bullish continuation, bull trend again. XTZ, BTC, even more impressive. Again, open interest, slightly net long. But trend-wise, it didn't even break the 200. It's held above previous all-time high zones. And now it's back above the cloud. If this gets a bullish TK cross over the next few days above the cloud, that's the most bullish signal you can get for the cloud. So again, I expect this to go higher. It's above all resistance targets. It's above everything that would be resistance. It's near price discovery once again. So 40,000 sats, I don't expect that to hold as resistance. It might need some consolidation at the previous all-time high, but I don't expect it to just turn down. And if you get the bull signal with the TK cross here, it's go time, baby.